snow day. I hope nobody had to do any serious driving or doing stuff today. Yeah, cool. Ready to move then a little bit? All right. So I don't have plans for lots of props, mainly because I realized today that I don't actually have even a yoga mat here at my house. So at most, I think we'll probably use like a blanket and a block. I don't have a block, so I have a Shakespeare textbook and a roasting pan, and I'm going to make do over here. Yeah, but I was thinking we get started with a little bit of silence and lying down on our backs, just any way that feels right to you. Yeah, so we won't, hey, Sandy. So we won't start with the music just yet. I feel like on these super snowy days, everything just feels a little bit more quiet. Good. So as you get yourself settled in onto your back, I just wanted to read you this little bit out of, actually it's a deck. It's the Archetypes deck by Kim Kranz. Today is the full wolf moon in Cancer. So it's the January full moon. And in thinking about wolves and what they are all about, I came across this description of the animal archetype. So we are mammals, she writes. The hair on our chest and between our legs reminds us so. We try hard to deny our unrefined animalistic nature. Yet through this archetype, we tap into power and direction. Activating the animal within means reawakening our relationship to nature in the most broad and embodied sense. Drinking from waterfalls, roaring at the moon, opening eyes underwater, eating berries from the vine. The life force of our planet begs us to set down the devices, the constraints, and the social constructs, and remember the warm blood that pulses through our veins. The animal longs for breath, food, procreation, and physicality. It wants soil under our nails and starlight on our skin. And if all of this sounds terribly unsophisticated to you, take note that it is said that when the Buddha became enlightened, he roared like a great lion. And so taking a few maybe slightly bigger breaths under this full moon that is sort of shrouded by the clouds right now, but is still there nonetheless. And you might think about taking a few like super lazy cat yawn types of breaths. So as you breathe in, you're just opening the jaw, and then exhale and close the jaw. Maybe a few more of those. Inhale, open wide. Exhale, close the jaw. Good. And one more nice big breath. Maybe this is a lion's breath, sticking out your tongue. All right. And then let's just take a moment to turn the music on if that's something that you want to do. Okay, all the songs this evening are about wolves and or howling. Lots of songs about this, by the way. It's actually a thing. All right, so turning that music on, if it suits you, we're just going to start off in a restorative bridge pose. Taking your props underneath your sacrum, lifting the pelvis up. And really settling that pelvis down into the prop so that it's nice and heavy here. Good. And for a few moments, just take notice of your lower belly and your hip points. Good, and then your glutes. Good, and then each one of your legs, and you might continue to keep the knees bent, or you can extend a leg out long, or maybe even both. Legs out nice and long here. Good. Place your hands somewhere on a soft part of your body, and then just notice your fingertips settle in. And notice your breath moving. Good. Another few deep breaths here. And yeah, you might even stretch your arms out past your head. All right. And then if your arms are extended long, just bring them back alongside you. We're going to take the feet down into the ground, and let's pick up the pelvis and just take the things away. Good. Props off to the side. And as you set your pelvis back down to the floor, let's gently pull the knees in towards the chest. Good. And kind of walk the sacrum out here. Good. A few more big breaths. And then let's cross that right ankle over the left knee, and maybe you're pulling that left thigh in towards your chest and taking your figure four shape. Maybe instead of pulling the thigh in, you're lifting up the head and the shoulders and thinking about sort of hooking your elbows onto that right shin. Good. Working the muscles of the belly and the back a touch. Good. And then eventually set that left foot back down, set the head and shoulders down, and we're going to slide that right thigh over the left. And just take this sort of lazy eagle pose here. Good. We'll cross the arms right underneath the left. Give yourself a hug around. All right, and then let's just kind of squeeze everything, squeeze the thighs in towards each other. Good, press the back into the ground. And again, maybe you're picking up the head and the shoulders here and walking your fingertips around the sides of the chest and giving that spot in between your shoulder blades a little bit of a massage. Good, and then to come out of this, recline bound angle, soles of the feet together, knees out wide. Good. Let's take about 5 breaths here. Okay, from here, we're just going to move the knees really, really slowly up into constructive rest. So those thighs might shake a little bit. Your belly might shake a little bit, or maybe there's just total steadiness from the floor all the way up. Good. And once you find that constructive rest, elbows press into the ground alongside your ribs, and just gently pick up the hips. Good. If you can rest your hands on the sides of your belly, I think go for it. Good. Feel your body breathing. All right, and then very slowly, just start to set yourself back down. We're going to cross that left ankle over the right knee. Yeah, and from here, you might hug that right thigh in towards your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze and some release through that left hip. And maybe you decide to pick up your head and shoulders and bring your elbows towards that left lower leg, reaching up. Yeah, and activating your belly. Good, and then we'll go ahead and set the upper body down, set that right foot down, and let's slide that left thigh on top of the right, coming into your easygoing eagle pose. And then the left arm will slide under the right. And a little hug around here, and think about rocking your head side to side. Yeah, just looking for a sense of fluidity in the upper body for a moment. Good, and then press that right foot down, squeeze your thighs. Good, squeeze the belly. Maybe lift the head and shoulders. Good, just another big breath here. All righty, let's lower ourselves back down, unwind, and just take up space. Find your starfish pose. Good, and feel the full length of your limbs here. And then your nice soft belly in the middle of things. Good, head rocking side to side, and your face softening. And then from here, we're going to draw ourselves back into the middle, knees to chest, hands wrap around the shins. And we're going to make our way up onto hands and knees, and you might rock a number of times along the length of your spine, or you might just like sit up and then find hands and knees. And maybe you want to rock along your spine and find some boat pose. It's really cold out there. So maybe building a little bit of heat in your own body. Good, but yes, eventually we're going to make our way onto hands and knees. And as you find your hands and knees, spread your fingers out really wide. And then think about sort of digging your fingertips into the ground like they're claws or something. So really making that contact between your fingertips and the mat underneath you. Good, and then relax those hands and take some cats and some cows. Might be nice to cross one ankle on top of the other as you move through cats and cows. Good, just a few more breaths. All right, let's set ourselves back into a child's pose here. Okay, your knees might be somewhat close together, but maybe they're really wide too. Good, and at first, stretch your arms out nice and long. And notice those shoulders. Good, and then we're gonna slide the hands back and we're gonna come up onto the top of the head if your neck is okay with it. For a rabbit pose. And then we'll tip out of that, slide our hands up the fronts of our legs and come into camel, hands to the lower back. And maybe this is like a super easygoing camel. Good, it doesn't have to be huge. Notice that little bit of broadness across your collarbones. Good, and then we'll make our way out of it, hands and knees. Good, we're gonna slide ourselves down to the ground. And then lift up the heart, little Cobra pose. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Yeah, why don't we pedal this out for just a little bit here? Good, as you breathe in, take a look in between your hands. And then exhale, step your right foot forward or help it forward. And we're gonna drop that left knee down. Good, from here, you can keep your hands down or maybe they come up onto that right knee. Or even sweep up and overhead. And if they've swept up and overhead, you might circle them down and around a few times. Good, notice your left hip. Just take a few more breaths. All right, we'll set those hands down at the top and tuck your left toes underneath. And we're going to bring that left foot to the top of the mat, fold it forward, and swing the head around. Good, bend one knee, then the other knee. And just take your whole body into this kind of a sway. All right, and then while you're folded forward, take a nice big breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, lion's breath, stick out the tongue. We're going to slowly inhale all the way up. Good, and as you come on up, hands slide up the fronts of the legs, mountain pose. Good, hanging onto your mountain pose for just a second here. Good, feeling nice and tall and nice and strong. All right, chair pose. Let's sit down. And that can look different for everybody. Maybe there's a very slight bend in the knees. Okay, maybe you want to take your feet really wide and get really low. Right, it's up to you. And then maybe there's some movement. Maybe you're totally still here. Let's just take a few more breaths. We're going to fold ourselves forward, let the head hang. Okay, and then from here, step your right foot all the way to the back of your mat and drop your right knee down. Good. You might choose to stay right here, or you could lift. Good, and those arms might go up. And then maybe some circles. Good, and then from here, hands come down. Let's bring that left knee back to the right, and we'll sit on the heels. All right, or just sit back on your sitting bones, and let's take 5 nice breaths. Okay, and from here, let's take our head down to the ground, and we'll roll up into the top of the head for a rabbit pose again. And as you find this rabbit pose, you might rock really gently on the top of the head, remembering not to place too much weight into the neck. All right, and then we're going to press our hands into the ground and then slide our hands up the fronts of our body to the lower back for a camel pose. Good, maybe the head drops back or not. Good, a big breath in here. And then we'll make our way out onto hands and knees. And then let's lower ourselves down to the ground, elbows close to the body. Inhale, lift up the heart. And we'll exhale it on back into a downward facing dog or hands and knees. Good, wherever you are, take a few deep breaths. All righty, look it forward, bring that left foot up to the top of the mat. And we're gonna drop that right knee down again. Just come into this low lunge. And it might be a low lunge, raising the arms up like before, or you might think about coming into like a lizard pose here. Good, so whichever kind of speaks to you a little bit more tonight. It might be this really low and sort of fluid lizard pose, or it might be all of the structure and lift. Let's take a few more breaths. Okay, hands come down to the top of the mat, tuck the right toes under, lift the knee. And we're gonna step that right foot forward into the standing forward fold. And bring the feet a little bit wider. And from here, we're gonna take the left hand down underneath our face and deeply bend that left knee. Right hand can come to the lower back or reach high. Good, and then bend that right knee, take the right hand down, reach that left hand up. Good, go ahead and take both hands down and just hang here for a moment. Maybe even pulling at the hair at the base of your skull, tugging on your ears, scalp massage. Just a little something to help relieve tension in the head. Good, from here, let's slide the hands up the front of the body. Let's stand up nice and tall, mountain pose. And here in mountain pose, let's stand up on our toes and reach up. Good, and as you reach up here, notice the bend in your knees and the fluidity in your pelvis. Good, fingers spread nice and wide. And then we're gonna sit down in a chair pose here. And in chair pose, we're just gonna kind of swing our arms around in these circles. So these circles that are in opposite directions. Right, maybe you're taking them in the same direction, that's fine too. Yeah, but just considering maybe trying to see what it's like to go opposite. And then switch directions. Folding forward is going to feel amazing. Get another breath or two. All right, fold it forward, let it go, head drops down. Maybe even swing it around a little. Another nice time for a lion's breath. All right, let's step that left foot all the way to the back. We'll drop the left knee down. And yeah, your choice. Maybe you're sort of wiggling that right foot out wide, coming down into your lizard or dragon. Maybe you're bringing that right foot a little bit more centered and lifting. But just take, I don't know, a few breaths here, 5 or so. Good, another breath or two like this. And then let's set those hands down and bring that right knee back to the left and just take a moment here. And you might rub the tops of your thighs. You might drop your head side to side or even roll it around in a big circle. Good. And another thing that I like to do is to take my head in a figure eight, like to draw a figure eight with my nose. And that can be really nice if you don't have any issues with dizziness. If you do, maybe don't do that. And if you're taking those figure eights, go in both directions. Good. And then bring yourself back through to the center. And let's take our thumbs to our ring fingers, to the pads for Prithvi Mudra. Okay, your other fingers are going to be extended out. And let's just hold this on our thighs for a moment. Sit up nice and tall. Okay, this is a grounding mudra. Our thumb is fire, the activating finger, our ring finger is earth. And so when we hold this mudra, we remind our energetic system to seek the ground. And notice where you're connected to the floor. And really thinking about this act of grounding yourself in your physical body. Good. Let's come on out of it. And we're going to make our way up to standing, but I want to give you a moment to get there in whatever way makes the most sense for you. Maybe you want to take a down dog. Maybe you just want to fold forward and stand up. Good. And as you roll yourself up to standing, we're just going to shake. We're going to shake our bodies. We're going to shake our arms, our legs, our butts, our heads. Okay, if you've been feeling a little ungrounded or a little bit anxious or nervous recently, focus most of your attention on your heels, keeping your heels connected. Good, let your arms be sort of loose. What does it feel like to just let them bounce? And I think we're going to do this for like another minute. So just feel free to, I don't know, jump around or swing around or bounce around or whatever works for you. Maybe you want to go jump on your bed. I don't know. Just a few more moments. Good. And then let's take a super gentle swing. Something so easygoing. Creating that space around you, front to back, side to side. Just kind of claiming the space for yourself. Good. We're going to come back to the center and let's take our hands together in Hikini Mudra. So fingertips touch each other. And let's stand up nice and tall with that space in between your palms. Good. And then from here, why don't we come and stand on our right foot? You can hang on to something in front of you or a wall, but we're going to bring that left knee up and we're just going to swing. Just going to swing the arms. We're going to swing that left leg around. And notice what it feels like to balance on that right foot. Okay, maybe it's easy. Maybe you keep putting that left foot down. Maybe there's some very big wobbles and some corrections. But what does it feel like when you catch yourself right before you fall? So we'll spend a few more moments on this side. Good, and then we're going to keep that left knee up. Find Hikini Mudra again, fingertips together. Good, notice your belly and soften your shoulders. And then a nice strong left leg kicks out in front of you, flex that foot, and then we'll set that left foot down. And let's just fold here. Good, drop your head down, wobble it around. Yeah, and if your shoulders like this kind of thing, you might reach behind your lower back and interlace your fingers and press your knuckles up. Good, let's slowly roll ourselves up to standing. And as you get there, just take notice of that left foot. Good, and we're gonna bring our right knee up. And then let's just give ourselves a little swing around. You notice what's going on. Notice how it feels. Maybe this is fun, maybe this is terrifying. A little bit of both, perhaps. Maybe it feels super clumsy or awkward, but just know you're not alone. Good, another handful of breaths. Whew. All right, and let's come to stand up nice and tall on that left foot. Right knee is up, fingertips connect for Hikini Mudra. Good, and then just for a moment, we're gonna kick that right leg out, flex the foot, and then go ahead and set it down. And we're gonna take a squat here. So feet will be a little bit wider. And let's set our hips down towards the ground. Good, maybe you're sitting up on a block. Maybe you're moving side to side. And you might even fold forward here. Dropping the head down, rounding the back. Good. So from here, I was thinking that we would sort of crawl our way into a half moon pose on one side. So crawl the hands over towards one foot, lift up the opposite leg, open the hip, reach the arm up. Hold that for a second. And then we make our way back down very carefully into the squat. And then walk those hands around to sort of frame the other foot, lift the other leg up. Maybe find your half moon. Good, and just a few times back and forth, moving really slowly. And maybe you're coming more into like a goddess situation with your hips a little higher in between. But eventually we will all meet in a goddess, hands to the knees. And then we'll drop one shoulder into the middle. And just hold this for a moment here. And then drop the other shoulder into the middle and hold that for a moment. And then bring yourself through to the center, big breath in. Exhale, stick out your tongue. All right, a big wide angle fold. Good, as you spin the heels out, drop the head down. And just give your body a nice wiggle side to side. Good. Let's start to lift ourselves up halfway here and then all the way. Good. And then we're going to step ourselves up to the top of the mat and stand here in mountain pose for a second. Great. Kind of stamp the right foot down, then stamp the left foot down and make that connection with the heels. Let's sweep those arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let's plant the palms and step that left foot all the way to the back. We're going to spin that left heel down and let's come up into a warrior one. Good, so hands on the hips. And that back heel is plugged into the ground. And then let's raise those arms up and then melt them down. Raise them up again. And maybe just a few circles like this. Right, hands will come down, frame that right foot. Let's hop the left foot in about halfway, pyramid pose. Good, and drop the head down here. And step your left foot up to meet the right foot. And let's find a little bit of a toe squat. Belly to the thighs. And your heels are lifted here. Good, and so this is a nice place to hang out. And you might decide to bring your hands up onto your knees and find your toe squat balance. And another thought is to take a twist here. So both of your hands could come over to the right, and that left elbow plugs into the outside of the right knee. Good, another breath or two. Good, and then come back through to the center, standing forward fold. Let the head drop down. And if you can squeeze your feet, I say give them a good squeeze. Very slowly, let's start to roll ourselves all the way up to standing. Find your mountain pose. And notice those shoulders and let them soften. Good, bring your hands to your heart. And then balance on that left foot. We're gonna cross the right ankle over the left knee. And maybe take a little seat here. And maybe you're taking a seat, maybe you're folding the upper body forward, even tapping the elbows onto the right shin perhaps, or hands to the ground. And just take a few breaths here. All right, and we'll come on out of it and just fold forward. Great, option to take a flow through if you want to. Maybe you want to step back to your high plank and take it to low plank. Through a cobra, back to down dog. But eventually we'll all meet up in this standing forward fold at the top of the mat again. Good, and then from here, we're gonna go ahead and step that right foot all the way to the back of your mat, coming into a warrior two kind of deal, or sorry, warrior one. So that right heel is nice and plugged into the ground, hands to the hips. Good, maybe your hands are at your heart. And maybe they're reaching up. And maybe they're taking those circles. Good, maybe one more circle here. And then hands drop down to the ground. Let's step that right foot in just about halfway. And take your pyramid pose, let your head drop down. And really plug those feet in. Good, right heel presses down and back. Good, left big toe presses forward. Good, and then from here, we're gonna step the right foot up to meet the left. And let's make our way down into our toe squat, maybe with our hands together at our heart as we go there. Maybe your hands want to touch the ground. for balance, and that's fine too. But eventually finding that in a toe squat with your knees up. Beautiful. Good. If you want to take your twist, it's a thought. Okay, bringing your elbows over to the left. That right elbow presses into the outer left knee. Good. Very slowly come back through to the middle. Fold yourself forward. And you might gather up your hair and tug on it. Or pull your ears. Or maybe you want to massage your feet or your calves or your knees here. Let's just take a moment to touch ourselves a little bit in some way. Good. And then we'll take some time to come and stand up. I think this might be the last really hard thing that we do tonight. So let's stand up on the right foot and we'll cross that left ankle over the right knee. Good. And then maybe you start to sit down a little bit, maybe. Maybe you grab a hold of your furniture for support. Yeah, but really feeling how things are in that left hip and the strength in your right glutes, your whole right leg. Yeah, maybe you're sliding those forearms down the shin, reaching your hands to the ground. Good. A few moments here in this balance. All right, and then let's lift ourselves up and out of it. We're going to step that left foot into the ground. And a standing camel here, lifting up your face towards the sky. Broaden those collarbones. Good, maybe a little back bend here, but then eventually we're just going to bring ourselves down into a seat. And you might consider crossing your ankles before coming to sit down so that you might be able to do so without your hands. Maybe. And then once you get to your seated position, let's just sit here for a moment and just kind of be in awe of our butts and our thighs and our cores and all of these muscles that work together to help us do what we just did there. And just take a few more breaths here, sitting up nice and tall. Okay, and then I have a number of thoughts, but my first is that we will maybe think about bringing that left lower leg in towards the chest. Okay, that right leg might be out nice and long in front of you, or maybe not. Maybe it's bent up. You just want to think about sort of hugging that leg in. Yeah, maybe you're even hooking the left arm underneath. And give yourself that little rock around. Good. And you might grab a hold of the outside of your left foot with your right hand so that your right fingertips are on the bottom of the foot. And just see how this feels. Good. You might think about placing that left hand on the ground. And then maybe extending that left leg out long or never. Good. Good. Maybe your knee is bent. Maybe this is not quite your thing, and that's also fine. We're just taking a moment and maybe playing around a little bit. Good. Eventually, you're going to come on out of that, and you're going to set that left knee down up here at the top of the mat. And we're going to scoot over onto that left hip and bring that right leg behind. Now, there are a couple of options for this, one of which is this deer pose with that back knee bent. And then there's also one of these. Yeah, good old pigeon pose. And if neither one of those things feel good in your hips, knees, low back, etc., figure 4 in your back might be a nice place to return to. So let's just kind of lower ourselves down here with our palms down on the ground, remembering our grippy little claw fingers. Good, feeling that grip of the fingers into the ground, but let everything else sort of settle. Head touches down. Good, and then let's push into the hands, and we're going to lift up the chest and sort of walk those fingertips back a little bit. And if this is a lot in the pelvis, just think about gently lifting up and squeezing those muscles around the pelvic floor. Good, you might stay here, or you might lift those arms up and circle them around and set them down and set yourself down. Good, and just repeating any bit of that that you would like to. So maybe you like the sitting up and that pelvic floor engagement and the circling of the arms, or maybe that's like a no thank you. I'm just taking a few moments here. And why don't we lift ourselves up one more time, our fingertips down, a big breath in through the nose. Exhale, stick out your tongue. All right, rock back over onto your left hip. We're going to swing that right leg around and cross that right foot over the left knee. Okay, so a couple of options. This could be like a shoelaces with your knees nice and snug. It might be seated twist with your foot down on the ground. Okay, but either way, we're going to turn our bellies towards the right thigh. And just take a few breaths. Good, and then let's rock over onto our right hip, extend the left leg out long, and let's pull that right lower leg in towards the rest of us. Good, give yourself a little wiggle here, a little rock around maybe. Right, and then for a moment, you might consider, oh yeah, hooking that right arm underneath. And then taking your left hand and wrapping it over the top of your foot so your fingertips plug into the sole of the foot. Good, and then maybe that right hand comes down, and maybe there's some straightening of that right leg. Okay, maybe it straightens, maybe it doesn't. Maybe now, maybe never. It doesn't matter. You just breathe. Good. Eventually, you're going to come on out of that and set that right knee down. And we're just going to lean over onto the right hip and either come into the deer pose with your left knee on your right foot, or extend that left leg long behind, or find your figure 4. Good. Settle yourself down to the ground. Yeah, let your head touch down. And then bring your hands down, spread your fingers wide, and find those little claws, your fingertips sort of digging into the ground. Yeah, as you inhale, lift yourself up, lift the heart, and exhale to lower. And maybe you're inhaling, lifting the heart, engaging the pelvic floor, raising those arms up, and exhaling to lower. And really just choosing whichever version of this, whichever piece of this you like the best. Right? You might move through all of the movements. You might stick in one spot or two. But just making it yours. Good. And then the next time you come up, take a big breath in through the nose. Exhale, stick out the tongue. Good. And let's rock over onto that right hip and swing that left leg around just into the leg position of your choice. So either the twist with your knee up or your knees snuggled. Good. We'll take a little turn over to the left now. And just breathe into your body. Feel your heart beating. Good. Blood coursing through your veins. Good. And then very slowly bring yourself back through to the center. And we'll unwind the legs and just take a little wide angle here. Good. And then we'll fold ourselves forward into the wide angle. And take a few big breaths like this. And while you're in your wide angle fold, it might be nice to revisit that Prithvi Mudra, where the pad of your thumb is connecting with the pad of your ring finger. Good. And you're encouraging this flow of earth energy through your entire energetic system. Good. Notice your sitting bones here and the tip of your tailbone. And every part of you that's touching the ground. And just let the animal of your body settle in. Good. And one thing that animals really seem to understand is how to rest in their own way when they need to. All right, so let's take a good longish for vinyasa class chunk of time for any kind of restful pose that you like. Maybe lifting yourself up and lying down in Shavasana. Maybe you would like to find seated meditation or legs up the wall or your couch. And I know we didn't really do anything on our bellies today, so maybe you want to lay down on your belly. Maybe that would be just the thing. But just take a moment to get situated, to get comfortable and warm. This archetype deck is really wonderful, and at the bottom of her little written piece about that particular archetype, she has a little when light, when dark, and go deeper section. So for the animal, she says, when light, we are vital, elemental, alive, and we dance. And when we're dark, oof, savagery, pent-up emotion, and lashing out. And then the go deeper is so lovely. She says, listen to the audio recording of Mary Oliver reading Wild Geese on repeat every morning for 1 week. And since I don't have that recording pulled up, I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you. I don't know that there's ever a bad time for this poem. Okay. Wild geese. You don't have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. And maybe your breath pushes the edges a little bit more. It's a little bit bigger. And maybe your body begins to move just one little piece at a time. Recently, I've been watching my kitten like wake up. And that dude moves every part of his body before he goes anywhere else. So just take a moment. Yeah, give yourself the wiggle that you need. And eventually we'll all come to sit up, but no rush to get here. And since we're all on Zoom, I feel like it would be really nice for us to close our class with this thing that I used to do back in Zoom only time that I think I miss a little bit. It's so fun. So we'll all kind of sit here, and you can have your camera on if you want to, or you can have your camera off, and that's fine too. But just make sure you're kind of set up in gallery mode here, so we're all like a bunch of squares on your screen. Yeah, awesome. And as you get set up in gallery mode, just kind of center yourself in the middle of your little space here. And then let's reach up, and maybe you're touching somebody up above you. Maybe you're touching the edges of their space. And then let's reach out to the sides, and we'll lean over this way. And we'll lean over that way. And then we'll come back to center, and we'll just drop our hands down to the ground and kind of make contact with the person who's below us. Good. And then let's take our hands and place them on our heart here. And just sort of soak in a little bit of this feeling of togetherness. Good. Feeling your heart beating underneath your hands, remembering your body. And giving thanks for it. Good. And then when you're ready, just drop your head down towards your hands and your heart, honoring your practice and honoring each other too. Oh, yay.